Handle more business.
For this month's Handle More Business, we're at Modex filming with Kevin Lawton at the New Warehouse podcast to talk about tips for podcasting, how to get one started for your brand if you'd like to. So, Kevin, I remember the New Warehouse podcast starting in 2019.
That's
Were you
right.
at this show, Modex, then?
2019 was ProMat.
Oh,
I
right,
think
it was.
It was like maybe a month and a half after the first episode came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's when we first connected. It was pretty cool, and you have grown so much since then.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty wild, right? I mean, we look here behind us, right, at the podcast booth we're in, and started with just a little handheld recorder, running around the trade show floor, trying to just get anybody to talk to me, please. Yeah.
And I was wondering about equipment. So at that time, you were using a handheld recorder.
Yeah. So I was using a little Zoom handheld recorder. I got off Amazon. I think it was maybe $50.
Okay.
To do it, and didn't really know what I was doing, and so got that, and I got a little SD card inside, and just held it like a microphone, and went like that, and went back and forth, and got as many interviews as I could possibly do. I think I did almost like 45 interviews in like the 3 days that I was there. Yeah.
That's impressive. That is a lot of interviews in a few
Yeah.
days. So the equipment's changed a lot since then, I would imagine.
Yes.
At least for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think is essential for a podcaster to have today to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think now more than ever, like starting a podcast is super easy. It's way easier than like when I started in 2019. But I think like to get started, I wouldn't make a huge investment in equipment, right? Because I think that it takes effort to get a podcast going, right? And you want to make sure that like, all right, you have a good message, you have a good kind of subject matter topic that you're going to focus on before you start investing in more equipment, and make sure like, all right, I'm going to commit to this, right?
Okay.
So I mean, I think the Zoom handheld recorders are great if you're doing like in-person stuff. Definitely there's a lot of like really cool lavalier like wireless mics that hook up right to a cell phone, like Rode makes them, DJI makes them. They're pretty inexpensive. So those are like good options to start. But if you're doing like a remote interview, I mean, like, your webcam microphone can work perfectly well too.
Do you see certain settings where you're filming a podcast, or do you think in certain settings are you getting a lot more interaction, I guess? Like, I know you do a lot of trade shows with back-to-backs. Like here we're at Modex on Podcast Row.
Yeah.
There's also all the other shows that you do, but I know you also do live casts from your home studio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think the engagement, certainly like in person, always does the best.
Okay.
Right? Because not only is it interesting conversation, right, which could happen remotely or in person, but there's also like some interesting visual activity happening as well. Love to go, for us, right, from a warehouse perspective, like love to go into warehouses and like shoot on the floor and do that kind of thing. But I think that, from an engagement perspective, like it is really about kind of the topic, right? I think, we've had, we certainly get a ton of like traction, interest, engagement on the trade show floor, but then when we've had like really kind of compelling topics on like a live stream on LinkedIn that we did completely remotely, like we've had a great audience for that and great interaction and engagement there too. So it kind of, setting helps definitely, but I think like topic also helps a lot too.
absolutely. So the topic drives the content and what's newsworthy at the time.
Yeah.
What are some of the highest engagement shows you've had, if you could remember? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but are there some that,
definitely.
like, you're like, that robotics was on point, or that topic because of what's happening in the world with tariffs, or was there a certain time when something really went more viral than you had anticipated?
Yeah, definitely. We had probably the most recent one I can think of is we did a LinkedIn live, well, I guess live stream, because we stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X like simultaneously. But we did one on how does 3PL pricing work with a large 3PL Barrett distribution centers, and we actually had like a panel was like the sales team, pricing team, marketing team, like all the factions that kind of come into play to generate like actual pricing quotes, and that was like well received. I think we had almost like 100 people tuning in, like live stream on that, and comments. There was like tons of comments, and people were super curious about that, right? So that was a good one. And then actually recently, actually just on Friday, we released an episode talking about Adabotics, right? Which you mentioned like newsworthy, right? So Adabotics had like a big news story last year, like they went bankrupt, right? And then, but an engineering company, integrator company, they acquired them. Right now they're like, bringing them back to life, and giving, and it was a good story about like, the technology was there, but it was just like funding and other business issues that played into that. So just over the past, 2 days, like that's gotten watched a lot actually. So I think it's kind of like understanding, your audience and like what are some of their challenges and what are they interested in, and then you can make some kind of evergreen content around that. Like the 3PL pricing is certainly something that somebody could watch like a year from now and still relevant, right? But then also like to your point, like newsworthy too. Like, okay, well, what's a hot topic right now that people are trying to figure out or people are interested in? And that Adabotic story, last summer when that news happened, like people were like very interested in like why did that happen, right? So we
Sure.
kind of like provide the explanation in that podcast. Yeah.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you live stream on 3 different platforms.
Yes.
YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Is there one platform in warehousing that gets the most engagement, typically?
Yeah. So our biggest for sure is LinkedIn.
Okay.
Definitely.
Noted.
Like that's like where our biggest audience is. X is like pretty small, but to be honest, like we haven't put much into X and trying to like grow that audience. We put a ton of effort into LinkedIn. YouTube is growing more. We've put like a lot more effort into that, especially since we've been doing pretty much almost everything on video now. Because when I started, we were just doing audio only podcasts, right? And then we transitioned, I guess probably 3 years ago now, into like probably 95% video for every conversation we have. So we've been growing that YouTube as well, definitely. I will say on YouTube though, you can live stream in a landscape mode or portrait mode, right? Portrait mode tends to get a lot more viewers, but I will also caution that also gets a lot more trolls like in the comments too. So I would just be aware of that. But I think that's because it kind of shows up in the feed, like shorts feed, like people are scrolling. So like we see more kind of viewers come in there. If it's in the portrait mode, but we have had some like kind of crazy comments too, like, so just to caution people, so you're not shocked by some of that. I know I was like the first
I'd love to ask you
like,
some of the crazy comments, but it might not be appropriate.
Yeah. So I was like quick on the delete button there for that, but but LinkedIn is definitely like our biggest platform, and then I think what we see from the live stream perspective, because I think it's important to note that it streams live, right? But then the replay is like available right away, right?
Sure.
So on the replay side, we do see like that get more traction on YouTube, I think, and then that's kind of like there, and people can come back to it whenever they want to, right?
Yes. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm on the go, like usually driving or just out and about, like full audio. But I know that a lot of people today want to watch them. Do you see like a split in your audience on which people are listening on audio only platforms versus on the YouTube or the LinkedIn live stream?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've met people that like they didn't even know that like we're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. They're like, oh, I'm watching on YouTube.
Sure.
Right. And YouTube, and like I actually had somebody who's a big time listener, and I met him like in person for the first time in the last couple months actually, and he was like, oh, I watch on YouTube, but like it's like the views, like I thought there would be more views. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not like our core thing. Like our audio is like where we have the biggest audience because we've had that established for longer, right? And he's like, oh, I didn't even know like it was on audio too, right? So I think there's definitely a split there. And I saw recently too, like some crazy like statistic about people watching YouTube like from their TV, like the video, like YouTube videos, and it's like increasing, right? And then I think from a video perspective, now we see Netflix has video podcasts on there. Apple Podcasts is going to be rolling out a video component too as well. So I think if you're going to do a podcast, I mean, there's certainly like podcasts that are very successful that are audio only, like like SmartList is a notable one, right, in the public eye. But yeah, I would say like definitely do video. I mean, it's like easier than ever to capture video, so it's kind of like, and if you're gonna have the remote conversation, you're probably on video anyway, so like just record it, because YouTube is certainly like a great discovery platform for us that we've found for sure.
Okay, that's super helpful. For a company, say a warehousing or a supply chain or material handling company looking to put out their own content on a podcast, how would you recommend they choose which mediums to have it on? So we've talked about LinkedIn being key for this industry.
Sure.
You're
Yeah.
number one, but also the audio portion, Spotify, Apple. What steps would they need to take to be sure when they do launch it, it's in the right places?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest thing to do there. So when you have a podcast, right, you need to create what's called a RSS feed, right? And so you find a good hosting platform. We use Buzzsprout as the hosting platform. Makes it super easy. So like they've created a RSS feed, and then you just upload it into that platform. And once you connect all like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, Podbean, like all these ones you probably like never heard of, right? They have all the connections into that. So once you upload your audio file in there, it's going to automatically push it out through the RSS feed, and then you can be on like 10 platforms, like no problem from an audio perspective. And it will also push the audio version out to YouTube as well. So on YouTube Music, people can listen to the podcast like audio only version as well. So if you go to our YouTube channel, like we have the video podcast, and then we have the audio podcast. So like audio podcast is on YouTube is basically like it's a video that plays, but it's just like a static image, and the audio plays over top of it basically. So you can listen to that like in the car if YouTube Music is like your platform of choice basically.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What tips would you have for a manufacturer out there, or integrator, or just a company in this industry that wants to put out some of their content, their cornerstone content, on a regular podcast? What do you have any steps on, like here's what I would do, or here's a tip to be sure you remember this one thing when you're starting it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it needs to have like a very specific kind of message or mission that you're trying to bring awareness to, right? And I mean, the podcast, arena is like so flooded now, right? I mean, there's like tons and tons of podcasts out there, not only like just in general, but like even like in this industry, right, alone, right? And not only from people that are like myself doing individual podcasts, but then also companies coming out with their podcasts too, right? So you have to have some kind of differentiator, right? Like, why is somebody going to listen to your podcast versus your competitor's podcast or this person's podcast, whatever the case may be. And I think where I see it being effective is like, how do we either focus it on education and awareness for our customer or potential customer in the arena that we play in, right? Like, I wouldn't do every podcast is like just a feature of one of our product offerings, right? More of like who's a good example? Like TGW was an integrator, right? And they recently came out with their what's the name of their podcast? It's like Warehouse Automation or something like that. But every episode is like talking about a specific step in like automation discovery, automation purchasing, automation implementation, right? So it's kind of like an ongoing learning, I guess,
Sure.
if you look at the whole library. Or if you go kind of and that's kind of like can be a solo internal thing, or you can go like the guesting route where you bring guests on and interview them, right? I think that's like a great avenue to like interview customers, interview like thought leaders in the space, interview interesting people, right? But mix it up, right? Like, don't just be like, all right, well, here's our head of marketing on the podcast talking about everything our company does, like every single episode, right? Like, it's got to be educational in some way. Like, it has to bring value to the listener. Like, the listener has to take something away from it, not only like about your company. If they do, like, that's good, but if they learn something, like, they'll remember that.
Absolutely. It comes back to that kind of like, we like to think of it, and I didn't come up with it, but that book I told you about before, The Selling with Authority.
Yeah,
By having
sure.
that content that really shares valuable information and is a benefit for the audience, you actually end up elevating yourself along the way, because they're thinking of you when they think of that service or that product.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
is really great. And that's one of the things I saw with social all along when it first launched. It was all of a sudden all of these companies that didn't have a mouthpiece before, because there were gatekeepers in the industry, whether it was a media outlet or a trade show organization that was not going to let someone come in and just say like, we're so great, buy our product, which gets really annoying after a while, just all shouting over social. And I think the ones that have really elevated themselves did exactly what you said. They're sharing something that's valuable that people want to tune into because they get something out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Well, to kind of, my last question is like, what's your favorite part of having the New Warehouse podcast? It seems that you really enjoy it, and I enjoy listening to it. So what's your favorite part of doing it?
My favorite part, I think it's evolved over time, right? Like, I think my favorite part at this point is that, I think back to who I was and like where I was in my career in warehousing before I started the podcast, right? And I was like very curious about like what was possible inside my four walls, right? When I was managing operations and doing that. And I think my favorite part is always like running into people at shows like this that are working in warehouses or have something to do with operations. And they're like, oh, like we heard about this on your podcast, right? And so now we're like implementing it, or we're like exploring this, right? And doing that kind of thing. Like I had somebody at Manifest actually that I never met before, and he came up and he's like, oh, we saw your YouTube video about this system, and like that's why we're buying it. And I'm like, okay, like that is like really cool. Like I feel like I'm really helping somebody, right? Like have that discovery and make their operations better, hopefully. So that's probably my favorite part. And then, if I had to pick a second favorite part too, it's just like being able to just interact with so many people. And I think, like yourself and your team, like, and some of your clients too, as well. Like not only like do we work together, but like, okay, like we've also like become friends over time too. Right. So it's kind of, that's my favorite part, is like to be able to get together and like see these people at these trade shows and events, and then like chat about different things happening in the industry, and just getting to know the people and bring the people together too.
Same, 100%, man. Yeah, and it's pretty incredible. Like we're here at Modex the day before the show starts. Tomorrow, they're expecting 50,000 people or around that, and then there's over 11,000 exhibitors. The numbers in this industry right now are just unreal.
It's insane, yeah.
For anyone that watches this that might not have been familiar with your podcast, where's the best place to find it?
Yeah, so whatever your favorite podcast platform is, just search for The New Warehouse, or you can go to thenewwarehouse.com, and we have everything about the podcast at the website, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn too as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Handle more business.